So every time we're eating, they're just slowing down our lives and watching ourselves doing something. It could be an activity as simple as eating to walking, or even for us when we are doing dentistry, passing instruments to one another, greeting our patients, seeing them smile at the end and connecting with them. So if we are thinking of the past or future and not in the moment of things that we're doing, that's when we lose that state of mindfulness. So I would say every activity can be mindful. Mindfulness is just a state of awareness without judging our experiences. If we can see our patients as pure souls and develop that quality in ourselves, I think we'll start enjoying our profession and personal life so much more, which will bring us not just good reviews, but a good sleep at night.
Yeah, this is a tale, oh yeah, a tale of two hygienists. So there might be only one, bringing the best of dental knowledge, and we do it all with ease. We cover oral health and screening, and preventing gum disease. We're gonna do a lot of learning, and have a little bit of fun working at the dentist. A tale of two hygienists.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of A Tale of Two Hygienists podcast, episode number 337. I am your host, Andrew Johnston, and thank you for giving us a listen today. And you'll be glad that you did. I mentioned last week that we had recorded this amazing, wonderful episode with Dr. Nidhi Taneja on mindfulness and meditation, and it was so good that I'm actually going to probably download it again myself today and give it a re-listen. There's lots of just valuable information there that I need to really retain. So you are all in for a treat today. I'm very excited for it. And this, honestly, will probably be one of the ones, if not, I mean, you should be doing this for all of them, I guess, but one of the ones that you're going to share with your doctors, your coworkers, anyone else in the office with you, and probably even non-dental people. It really was that good, because I feel like we're just running at 100 miles an hour, like every day. I mean, most of us are, and we're juggling so many different things. We never do the things that we know that we should do to take better care of ourselves. And this episode gives us the permission that we might need to just slow it down and do better. And then next week is kind of a complement to this week. And next week is going to be a discussion on physical health with Brianne Noveas. And the interesting thing about next week's episode is that it'll be a little bit different in that Stephanie Botts, who co-hosted on this episode, will be playing the lead on the interview while I was kind of in the background a little bit. And I mean, it really turned out really nice. It's definitely something different taking second chair again, because this last 6 months, it's been, me. And I'll tell you what, I could probably get used to it. I love podcasting so much, but it was never really meant for me to be like the only host, the primary host or anything like that. It was always supposed to be, a co-hosting thing. And so it's been a little bit awkward for these past several months, but I really appreciate her doing that. So last Friday, we aired the second episode of the RDH Rant Takeover. And this one was on Diva Hygienists. If you haven't listened yet, go back and take a listen if you want to, if that's kind of your thing. And I know I could probably look at the numbers, but I really, really want to hear back from you on your thoughts of if that kind of content is something that we should continue to do. Because, I mean, it's just different, right? And I think we got an email from Cassandra. Thank you for the email, by the way. I didn't respond, and it's because I meant to get this on the episode earlier, and I just haven't. I'm really sorry about that. And she said that, quote, "It was nice to have a bit of levity and less buttoned up professional insight. Don't get me wrong, I love the education, but I think it'd be nice to include a laughable aspect every now and then," end quote. And so, yeah, I mean, 100% agree with that. And the messages in the groups and the other places have been really, really supportive of this kind of episode. But this is a democracy of sorts, kind of, it's not really, but I do want to hear back if there are objections, if there's something that I'm just missing, like a blind spot that I just need to be paying attention to. And this will probably be the last time that I ask for this. So please email them to me, Andrew at A Tale of Two Hygienists, if you have anything to share, positive, negative, whatever. Probably though, I mean, unless I hear an overwhelming amount of negative, thoughts about it, I will probably continue to air them, because also the parts that you guys don't see is I think they had almost 400 downloads more than our other episode next to it from the first time. And I think they already have almost 100 downloads more than the episode before and after it than for this last one. So it seems that everyone likes it. It seems like everyone's, really tuning in specifically for that one. And so, obviously I want to give you what you want. So speaking of giving you what you want, interesting kind of like side note here. I heard from 3 people this past week about the new intro song, which isn't really, I guess, all that new now, but I'm not really sure what caused the sudden comments, but I really do appreciate them. And I appreciate the support. And because I haven't heard anything bad about that either, it's officially here to stay. I think that's going to be, the theme song for quite some time. This week coming up, I will not be at the ADHA this weekend. I also had plans to attend Europerio last week. I'm very, very, very sorry that I missed it. But with all the other conferences and the events I want to do this year, I just had to prioritize, and I just, couldn't make it happen. But I do want to say congratulations to Aaron Haley Hitz on being elected as the ADHA vice president. It's well-deserved, this appointment, and it'll be nice to see someone like really fighting for everyday clinicians out there, because that's who she is. And I feel like many times the priority of protecting and advocating for the everyday hygienist kind of gets like pushed to the side or set to the side so that people can make their own agenda that's going to maybe get them on the map or get them popularity or their name on an award or a plaque or whatever, instead of just doing the right thing. And I guess, if, this is kind of coming off as a little bit negative all of a sudden. I don't mean it to be, like I'm so disappointed, but I have been disappointed in the past, honestly, by how little the backbone of the profession has been treated. And I know it's probably because many of them don't pay dues, but people forget their roots when they get into leadership, and it sucks. And so I am just a little bit disappointed in that, but I don't think that will happen with Erin. And while I do not know her all that well, admittedly, I do trust the opinion of my friends who think the world of her. And the fact that she's being plucked out of clinical hygiene means a lot to me. So please support her too, whether you're a member or not, and she will do the same. I'm very sure of it. So just like me, to start off with great positive energy and then go spiraling down into the negative, and then just like at the last minute, try and like pull the nose up on the plane before it crashes. But I will leave you with this amazing interview with Dr. Nidhi Taneja with guest co-host Stephanie Botts.
A tale of 2 hygienists.
Everyone, welcome into the interview portion of the podcast. Very, very excited to have this conversation about mindfulness. It's a topic where I feel a little bit out of my depth, though, if I'm going to be honest, doctor. I don't feel super, there are some topics where I know I have a whole list of questions. Stephanie saw it earlier. I had this list of 10 questions for our previous guest. And for you, I have the 3 questions, and that's basically it. So I apologize in advance if I sound a little bit slow on the uptake here, but I'm glad that you're here joining us, because I think that the way I'm feeling is going to be the way a lot of people are feeling about this. So if you don't mind, doctor, just introducing yourself a little bit and telling us about where you're coming from and why you got into this.
Absolutely. Hi, Andrew and Stephanie. Thank you so much for having me on. I totally resonate when you say that this is something which is not popularly understood. We've heard mindfulness and meditation sometimes even together. What I want you to know before I introduce myself is that right now, if you were to think of being here and recording and talking to me and not thinking about things that you have to do after or before, you are in the state of mindfulness. So it is something that I hope by end of today we are able to just uncover and take the details out of an imaginary word and have people and our listeners understand and feel that this is something very practical that we can think and take with us and be with it. And maybe on the other end of it, some of them are motivated to do it even more. So my name is Nidhi Taneja. I am a pediatric dentist practicing in California. And I've been practicing mindfulness for almost a decade now. I grew up in India, so it was something that was ingrained in me. It's a land of yoga, meditation, a lot of spicy curry. But most importantly, it was just a part of our lives of living, and it did not feel very different or something that I was adding on to my life. There were, on a regular basis, we had meditation groups but mindfulness was something a little bit different than meditation that I got introduced to almost 10 years ago when I was in New York, and I attended a Buddhist meditation where they talked about mindfulness eating. So every time we're eating, they're just slowing down our lives and watching ourselves doing something. It could be an activity as simple as eating to walking, or even for us when we are doing dentistry, passing instruments to one another, greeting our patients, seeing them smile at the end and connecting with them. So yeah, I'm excited to talk more and unfold this conversation.
I would love if you could share a little bit more about the childhood aspect of it, because I feel like you're coming from a place that a lot of us aren't going to be coming from. And it might feel a little bit more daunting for someone like myself who didn't grow up with meditation. And so how was that like introduced into your life? And what was it, just at school? Was it at church? Was it at home with the family? Like, what aspects of your life did that touch?
So this is a funny story. How I got introduced to it was by chance. I was in college, and before that when I cleared my board exams after 10th standard, I had nothing else to do. So my parents are like, hey, you guys should wake up in the morning. And I had a friend close by. So me and my neighbor would just go in a park, and there was like children mindfulness classes or children yoga classes, actually. So we started doing it, and somehow as a child, I think we don't have too many worries. I had just gotten done with my tests, and my childhood was very simple, just like many children. We play, we are fed properly, we go to school. Not many responsibilities. If I were to say, at least in India, we don't start working until our formal educations are done. We don't do a part-time job to support ourselves. We feel very fortunate that our parents support us through college most of that time. So I did not have any extracurricular burden or financial or social obligations. We were just either studying, or we were playing, or we were with our friends and being with our relatives on events. So I think that helped to give us space when my studies were over. I had a 2-month summer vacation, and every morning I would just go to the park and learn yoga with a teacher and other children. So I think that was a good space where I did learn formal yoga. And at the end of yoga sessions, we always meditated. They're very integrated to each other. And during those yoga sessions, it was easier for me to just learn how to connect with your breath. Once you are able to do that, I feel as I grew older, I remembered that practice with me. And as the name got more popularized and we started listening and reading more and went into college, I felt that I loved being silent. I loved being with myself. So before I went to sleep, I would just close my eyes and think about who I am and what did my day look like, instead of worrying about what somebody said or how did I react. I would just take a pause and go over my day, which doesn't mean that it didn't bother me. But if I saw myself getting bothered, I had a tool to separate myself from those emotions. Now, I have to give a disclaimer that this is not something that just happens. Like, I don't have an on and off switch that I'm in a state of mindfulness all the time. But I think just going through that experience for 21 day or 35 days, people, if they have that as a tool, every time they're remembering this, they can utilize it. So I'm not good at it all the time. I still get frustrated. I have all the emotions. I may sound very calm, but like Andrew, right before we were recording, I was like, hey, I'm feeling nervous. I'm not sure how this is going to go. But just recognizing that feeling, it's an everyday thing, and we can learn from it. And you start trusting yourself. You trusting the universe that, hey, whatever is going to happen, it's just small in the grand scale of things. Like, sure, I may mess up a word here and there, but that's me being human. And I hope that people will learn something from that vulnerability.
So I'd really like to learn for myself, but also I think for our listeners as well, what's the difference between mindfulness and meditation? Because I think a lot of times people are using those words interchangeably, but I feel like they're probably different.
I think that's a great question, and that's a good one to start to just demystifying what meditation and mindfulness is. So I'll start with meditation, which is usually what comes up in our eyes first, closing our eyes or staying open, but staying in a pause state where we are formally meditating. What that means, meditation is a more formal practice where we are focusing on trying to not think of our thoughts or separating ourselves from what's going on in our mind, which is bombarded with ideas every time that we're living. In a given day, we come across 40,000 thoughts in a day, so 2 thoughts per second. And most of those thoughts are built out of memories from the past or worries of the future or some kind of a frustration. Most of our thoughts are usually curated through our experiences in life and the judgment towards it. So we either, let's say, I'm listening to you and I'm like, oh, this person is not wearing something that we like. So our thought goes towards thinking about things that we're not exactly there for. Our mind can go into, oh, how does my voice sound like, or oh, my headphones are not working, So our thoughts go in a direction of judging a situation as positive, negative, or neutral. So something to always kind of be watchful for is categorize your thoughts into 3: helpful, useful, or waste. So helpful will be like you're thinking of positive things that are developing you, that are bringing positive feelings inside. And then negative thoughts are something that that they're bringing you down. It could be frustration, it could be jealousy, anger, self-doubt. Or some of the wasteful thoughts would just be, oh, I'm bored. Or right now I am meditating. I don't know if this is going to help or not. Oh, I have so much work to do. Like these are waste thoughts that they're not being productive. So coming back to what is formal meditation is sitting down and just trying to observe. So physically, you're not doing anything, but you're doing most of it mentally. It could be done closed eyes or open eyes. It usually depends on what kind of practice you gravitate to. Some people get very stimulated if their eyes are open because they're seeing a lot of colors, looking at sounds or things around that can distract them. And that's why I think in the formal practice, usually it's suggested to close your eyes and kind of focus in between your eyebrows and your forehead, because when your eyes are focused at that angle, it kind of stimulates a brainwave, which helps you calm down and also focus internally. So that's meditation. And coming back to mindfulness is a more of a recent term. It is from Buddhist culture, and by John Kabat-Zinn, it's defined as a formally state or a quality or state of being of consciousness or awareness of something without judgment. So what that means is that we are just focused on our daily activity, but watching ourselves doing it. So it can be practiced at any time. Let's say I'm talking to you. I'm conscious that, hey, there are words going out of my mouth. These are my feelings in my body. You are listening to me and you're feeling a certain kind of emotion coming inside, like, oh, I like this. And as soon as you're aware of that, that is basically being mindful. So in your daily lives, if you're eating some dinner and you're just like focusing on the texture of the food, the color of the food, being slowly eating, that could be mindfulness. One of the things that we all relate to is when we are driving, we reach from one place to the other and we don't even know how we got there, because we're constantly in different thoughts. So that's when we lose connection with being in that moment, because our mind goes in some kind of a future that, oh, I'm running late, or in the past that, oh, my husband didn't talk to me right, or my kids gave such a hard time in the morning. So if we are thinking of the past or future, and not in the moment of things that we're doing, that's when we lose that state of mindfulness. So I would say every activity can be mindful, and meditation is a form of mindfulness because we're formally sitting to practice it. But mindfulness is just a state of awareness without judging our experiences. I hope that makes sense.
It does. And I
actually, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And I feel like this could be a really good tool for dental professionals, especially hygienists, because we're like so stressed out all the time. How would that look for a hygienist being mindful during their appointment? Is it like not worried about what happened with the patient before and not worried about your patient after, but really just like focusing on what you're doing with that patient at that time?
100%. So I sometimes start my day with just like pause with some of the assistants who are open and hygienists. They are very open, once they get the concept, because meditation can feel very daunting, and it could feel very scary sometimes because we all are living in a life where there are stressors. There are real stressors. So it's not to undermine that, hey, meditation is the magic for everything or mindfulness is the magic. But I think it gives us a chance to separate ourselves from the situation and knowing the bigger picture. So in a dental practice, how hygienists and dentists and even our patients sometimes can benefit from is recognizing an emotion. So I'll give you an acronym that I recently started using, and it's called RAIN, RAIN. R stands for recognizing. So as soon as we recognize in a situation, let's say our patient walks in, Mr. Jones is feeling unhappy, or we can recognize that there's something going wrong of no fault of ours, let's say, and we just feel that the way they're talking to us, it just feels that something is going on underneath. So let's say R is recognizing that feeling. Then A is allowing. So A is allowing, where you allow that emotion. You are seeing Mr. John is feeling such a way. You hear him out and see what is he saying, like being mindful instead of having our guards on at that time, like, oh my God, Mr. Jones is feeling this way and this is making me feel this way. I don't know, the doctor is going to say something, or, oh, these patients are like this. In my practice, sometimes I can be judgmental when a mom walks in and the first thing she says is, I don't want x-rays. And my entire script in my mind is like, oh, this is going to be a difficult appointment. But now I've started recognizing that there could be a lot of reasons. So instead of jumping onto a reason that this patient is going to be so-and-so, you allow that emotion to happen for that patient. Then we go to I, which is investigate. And it is just an habit of listening to a person, actively listening, trying to go under the tones or under the words or beyond the words and see why is somebody feeling that way. And when you connect to your patient in that way, you will find out the answers, because you're not taking their reactions personally, or you are in so much in tune or element of yourself that you didn't get reactive to your patient when they felt that way. So just investigating and trying to find out answers on, did they have a bad day? Were they running late? Do they have an appointment right after? Did something go wrong at home? Or just basically, are they maybe fearful? And like I was telling you guys, I work with children with autism or special needs and even younger children. My main focus is to elevate the anxiety. And what that helps me with is past traumas at the dentist, future worries of like, hey, is the needle coming even if it's a prophy appointment? I think you have to bring a child, in this case, in the state of their original state, which is you don't see a child with worries unless they are not in their original state, and you bring them back into their state of being calm once you relieve that anxiety, knowing where it's coming from. So that's I. And finally, N stands for nurture, where you are giving that love, unconditional attention, and making them comfortable, which we are all very good at. It's just that pause between once we recognize what's going on and then you nurture them. And nurture could in some kinds look like no treatment because you are feeling agitated and this is not the right case for you. Or it could come in the form of giving them all the tools. Like in my practice, I would just sit down and instead of jumping onto working with the child, I would take a pause and breathe with them and tell them that this is not the same as being at the doctor, or, okay, giving them choices. Do you want to sit on mommy's lap or do you want to sit on the chair? And I think just finding those fun ways, which I believe in non-surgical and non-invasive ways. We have SDF now. There's so much in pediatric worlds that we can do. I feel excited that I see children and I can prevent these problems from having as an adult and keeping them calm in our practice. So again, just to summarize, it's RAIN. R is recognizing, A is assessing or allowing, I is investigate, and N is nurture. And I also add N is also for non-judgment. So in all these forms, if we are judging the experience that we are going through or our patient is going through, it just doesn't work the same way.
Do you see that your team members from the front office to assistants and hygienists are able to also utilize this, or do they struggle a little bit more than you do you feel?
As I've spent more time with them, I think it dawns on them that, hey, there is somebody to fall back on so we can come back. I've told them that, hey, anytime you feel, just recognizing is your first part, because the better we get at recognizing our feelings or emotions in the room, the better we can go to the next step, which is pausing, allowing, just pausing and not reacting, giving that space. And I feel that sometimes it's a good day, sometimes it's not. And it's same for me as well. Like if I have not meditated in the morning, which happens more than I feel I say I do, because when we are rushing, I think I connect more with mindfulness than meditating, because it's not formal. Even when I'm driving, I'm taking that pause, or I take my lunch break and I go out of the office, put my headphones, either listen to a podcast or music, and just feeling that fresh air. I think I'm more in a state of mindfulness than in meditating. But let's say if a situation in the office goes wrong, or an assistant or a hygienist comes and say, this went wrong. So we just break down how the event happened and how we could have done differently. And every time you practice that, it gets better. I feel very fortunate that my group is very open to such practices and talking, because I think it brings the humanness and connection between the teams. The more they can rely on me as a doctor, the more I feel I can rely on them as assistants, because if I see them as not making a mistake because nobody's making a mistake intentionally, there is a deeper cause. If an hygienist or an assistant comes late to the office, there is a reason behind it. So instead of me getting mad at it, I do try to not judge them for doing that 3 times, 4 times, but obviously taking an action at an appropriate time with full consciousness that, hey, I am taking this action not as a response if I have to fire someone, which I don't do because I work as an associate, so I feel very fortunate in that. But if somebody has to, it's a conscious decision and not a reactive one.
Well, I really like this.
I like that a lot.
I like what you do. Sorry, Andrew.
No, high five. Like we both said, like we really like this.
I like it because it's really like honoring feelings and emotions, because we all have feelings and emotions, especially in dentistry. I mean, it can be very stressful. And a lot of times I think we don't feel like we're in a safe place to feel those emotions. So we just stamp them down and then, take it out on, I don't know, someone at home or whatever. But this is really good because you're able to acknowledge those feelings, but not get attached to it and just kind of like find a solution and move on.
Absolutely. I think you are so right. Being in dentistry is not just stressful, like physically. We are doing so many procedures, and I love what you do in your class for postures. Ergonomics is so important. Physically, when we're not doing well or if we didn't sleep well, our body can bring us down at some point, and add our emotions on top of it, add relationships, the number of patients we see, and they bringing their own stories and traumas with them. I think we can carry a lot with us home or bring to our office. So dentistry is such a unique profession. I feel we wear so many different hats. We work in a private setting, we can work in corporate, and there's so much to manage. If we start seeing that as the joy and flexibility with which we can work, and just try to take time to ourselves and see what kind of dentistry do I want to associate with. So I think it's such a beautiful profession, and there's so many options that we can do. If we can just start feeling that, hey, this is not just a job for 9 to 5, but something that I'm investing my time, body, and energy into, let's find the right practice for ourselves. Let's find the right people that we're working with. And if we cannot do anything about the situation around, how do we stay centered so we're not taking that to our families who ultimately deserve our undivided wholeness? And help them. Like if we go back to our children and we are not present for them, it would affect their future as well and our connection with them. So just preserving our energies in the end.
Yeah.
Is there, kind of a weird question, I guess, but is there a benefit for longer meditation times, or is this about quality versus quantity? For meditation specifically?
Yeah, they say the best kind of meditation is the one that you will do. So if you feel that to start with, you just need 5 minutes, and I love Calm app, and they're like 10 minutes meditation. Tamara Levitt's voice is so calming, and I love it. So I'm just listening to her 10 minutes, even while I'm driving, even though it's recommended not to. So I'm not promoting that, but I'm just saying the best kind of meditation is what you are feeling like doing. So, and you will notice that after you do it for 10 minutes or 5 minutes, or even before you take a break or before you go to bed, and you're just like playing some calming meditation or guided meditation in your ears, and you just fall asleep, you will feel so happy doing it more and more. You'll be like, oh, I want to be in this state more. So it will automatically increase the time of formal meditation if you wanted to do that.
Do you feel like some people are more predisposed to being able to be more mindful than other people?
I think.
Or is it in us all that we can all do it?
That's probably, I would go back to me growing up in a family where I did not have to work at a younger age or not get exposed to real life at a younger age, I would say. I think I was fortunate. So I think our childhood experiences do matter in terms of getting mindfulness or meditation introduced in our life. But I feel once we are in our adult life and we have good support system, it is possible, or good resources. Let's say somebody does not even know about this, and I feel it would be hard for them to get onto this journey. But I think once somebody's introduced to it, it's on us, and it is a tool that is wholly dependent on us as individuals and not on our circumstances or our surroundings. So I think once we are introduced to it, it's on us.
I love that. Doctor, I'm really sorry that we're like at the end of our time, but if you had one last message for all the clinicians out there, hygienists, doctors, whoever's listening, what would that message be?
So I work with kids, and I want to remind everybody that in every patient is a child. And when we see a child, they have that qualities of mindfulness, which is playfulness, being creative, honest, innocence. They are just that pure soul of light. And if we can honor that in our patients beyond our drills and beyond our prophy angles and the bills that they have to pay or the past experiences that they come with, if we can see our patients as those pure souls and develop that quality in ourselves, I think we'll start enjoying our profession and personal life so much more, which will bring us not just good reviews, but a good sleep at night.
Doctor, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for being on. If someone wanted to reach out to you or learn more about what you do, how can they find you?
I would love for them to message me directly on Instagram, and I'm also open to getting emails, and you can list both of them down for them. But my website is nurturesmiles.com, and I do dentistry a little bit different over there. We do home care, and I do group coaching for meditation and mindfulness for professionals as well.
I'm so excited about this. I'm going to stalk you on Instagram.
Please do, Stephanie. You guys are doing such a good work too.
Well, I just think it's so useful. It just gives us a different perspective that me as a hygienist, that we can take into our practice and really see our patients differently. So anyways, I just really appreciate everything that you've said.
Thank you so much for having me. It was an awesome conversation, and I loved, like, all my stresses that I had before are completely gone. So here's an example.
Yay.
Winners. Okay. Thank you, doctor.
Thank you,
so
doctor.
much, guys.
Yeah, this is a tale, oh yeah, a tale of two hygienists. So there might be only one, bringing the best of dental knowledge, and we do it all with ease. We cover oral health and screening, and preventing gum disease. We're gonna do a lot of learning, and have a little bit of fun working at the dentist. A tale of two hygienists.